Oh, when you're done, don't say anything. Okay. Until you give me okay. What's your last name? Schleicher. Hi, welcome to another episode of Meet the Author, and today we have author Dennis Schleicher, who wrote the book Forbidden Love with a Married Man, and let's say Email Diaries. And this book is about, this story describes one couple's struggle with their life choices and how to create a fully functional relationship while dealing with the prospect of divorce. So I'm going to let Dennis tell us about this book, because this book is pretty famous. When it came out, it was an Amazon.com bestseller. And Dennis was on some pretty famous TV shows like Larry King Live and some others that he's going to tell us about. So Dennis, tell us about how you got to this book and where it has been.
Excellent, Jason. First of all, thank you for having me on the show. The book was actually my diary. I never thought that I would become a best-selling author or an author in general. It was something that I just kept a diary of a situation that was occurring in my life. And when I shared it with friends and family, they said, wow, this is pretty good. You know, this is very a modern version of Sex and the City, if you may, or very Candace Bushnell. And considering I live in Glastonbury, I figured Candace Bushnell's from Glastonbury, and her mother still resides there. I figured might as well see what I can do with it.
So when you when this story happened, this was in this area, or you lived somewhere else? Or
It was in Connecticut, yes.
It was in Connecticut.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Pretty interesting. A local. So how did you become an author? Well, first of all, let me backtrack a little bit. So this book, you told me, has been, when it came out, what year did it come out?
It came out in 2006, Jason.
2006. You have been on some pretty famous shows like Larry King Live and the others you'll tell us about right now.
Yes. Well, the first show I did actually was Sally Jesse Raphael. And the ratings of that show were so high that it caused them to win a Daytime Emmy. And they asked me to appear back in 3 months later to talk about what happens to guests after they appear on national television.
1 second. Your appearance helped them win the Daytime Emmy? Was
Correct.
your appearance?
The producers, yes.
Well, I'm honored. I'm going to win an Emmy.
It's okay. It's okay.
Maybe.
Do they have Daytime Emmys for these shows?
They will now.
Yeah, they will now. You can come out with it, right? Exactly.
And you're also on Larry King Live. Tell us about that.
Well, that's actually a really interesting story. When I went on Larry King, I was a very young child at the time and didn't know who Larry King was. And I didn't realize it aired in 82 countries. And it was translated in all these different languages. And we had an earpiece on, and I could hear on the earpiece as they said Russian affiliates tuning in, you know, Australia now connected, New Zealand having difficulties. So during commercial break, I had asked the producer, why am I hearing this? And she says, oh, because we're in 82 countries, and I almost fell off my chair.
So 1 second, you were on Larry King Live, though, related to incidents in the book, but that was before you wrote the book?
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
got that.
Yes.
You said you were very young. Okay.
Yes.
I know you look young, but not since 2006.
No.
What was the other show you were on?
I was on the Jane Pratt Show. I did an appearance on Oprah, and I was also on the Joan Rivers Show.
The Joan Rivers Show?
Yes.
Wow. Why the Joan Rivers Show? Because she's a comedian.
Actually, she had her own daytime talk show that piggybacked Donahue. So actually, I don't recall if it was before Donahue or after Donahue. It was an hour-long talk show.
I remember actually saw that show, yeah. So you were on that show too?
Yes,
wow.
I was.
And backing track again, you said you were also on Oprah?
Yes, I was.
Really?
Yes, that was quite an experience.
You met her?
Yes, I did.
Wow, she was on the show too?
Yes, of course. Yes, it was called the Oprah Show for a reason, right?
Wow, let me shake your hand.
No problem, Jason.
And you're here in Glastonbury, right near us, in Connecticut, everybody.
Yes. Actually, a lot of people are familiar with my quote-unquote talk show fame that occurred before the book came out, and that's...
The Larry King one.
All of them.
Oh, a lot of them were before you actually had the book.
Yes.
Okay.
Which allowed me the platform that, I guess, the marketing platform to, when I came out with this book, my reputation was known for being a good interviewer. I was great in the talk show industry, so a lot of the producers knew me.
Yeah, well, they watch each other and they say, oh, that's a good guess, let's go get him, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
cool.
actually, Jason, that's an interesting story, was the producer of The Sally Show went to school with the producer of Larry King Live. Mary Duffy was the producer of The Sally Show, and she called her friend at CNN and said, I've never asked you to watch my show before, but you have to see this teenager that's going to be on tomorrow.
Tape, you know?
It's on YouTube.
Okay, pretty cool. So I want my viewers to look that up. So you brought up two interesting aspects here that we're going to deal with tonight on the show.
Yes.
First of all, you talked about the journey of how you got to write this book. That's being an author, that's one part. But the other part, you talk about marketing and how to get your book out there and how to be on talk shows and things like that, which has to do with something that you have now as a position in the Connecticut Authors and Publishers Association, that is, that you are chairman of publicity. So we're going to get to that in a moment because that's important too. Okay, so let's talk about the book first of all. So tell us about your story and then why you wanted to write the book, which you sort of hinted at, but let's do it again.
Well, back in 1989, I was a victim of a very brutal bashing. Because I was, quote unquote, accused of being gay, wasn't out. And in '89, it was a whole different genre. It wasn't, like it is today. And when I had 18 students attack me in a public high school in Connecticut, it was...
made the news.
It was a really emotional time for me because I I was catapulted into the media attention, if you may, and then I was looked to. There wasn't a bill in Connecticut that protected the situation as to why I was attacked, and they had asked me to speak at the legislative building to pass what's the first hate crimes bill in Connecticut. So now it's a felony to, but the hate crimes bill basically covers all aspects of discrimination. So you can't go to a synagogue and scream racial.
By 1989, there still was no bill or nothing to cover a hate crime, even though that's something that's been going on for such a long time before that?
Correct.
So your incident itself is something that catapulted this law to be?
Well, I wouldn't say catapulted it to be. I would say that the lobbyists had asked me more or less to be a to speak in front of the, the committees that were going to be. So
was the committee related to your incident alone, or just that they were thinking about this and they wanted you to be a spokesman?
They had been working on it for quite some time, and it was really hard to get it passed. But one of the issues that they were able to deal with was the fact that they now had somebody that was a victim of a very brutal gay bashing in a public high school, and there was no recourse for the children or the people that attacked myself.
Oh, okay. So you were instrumental in getting this bill passed. Very interesting. So what happened with your life that you came about to write this book, Forbidden Love with a Married Man, emailed? It says email
diaries, yes.
And why the email diaries?
Well, I found myself, I went on a date with somebody, and I developed a very kindred, serendipity-like relationship with this person, and through, correspondence and talking further and finding more about this person, I realized this person was emotionally unavailable. And I was involved in what we referred to as a triangular moral dilemma, where this person belonged to somebody else. They were secretly living a double lifestyle. And now I found myself being the other man, if you may. And my way of dealing with it in the evenings and in the mornings was keeping a diary and writing about my emotional misdeeds or my, my situation that occurred that
Okay.
allowed me to continue being the other person.
So now, from that point to becoming an author or making this into a book, what happened then?
I basically just wrote down everything in a Word document, and from that point on, I shared it with some friends, and they said we need to tighten this up, which is a word that the literary agents or the literary world uses a lot. And so I put it into manuscript form, and I sought out a professional editor that I made sure that it was grammatically correct and the punctuation was presentable. And that's how I came to find CAPA, Connecticut Authors and Publishers Association.
Okay. Now, my question is, they say a lot of authors write books because it's a form of therapy.
Yes.
Now here, you also have a story where it might not necessarily have been a therapy, but because people read the story, they said it's so interesting, you went ahead and did this book.
Yes.
So was it also a form of therapy, or that was not really part of it?
It was a form of therapy, and I asked the individuals involved that if it would be okay, and I was told that it's oh yes, this is kind of cool.
Okay.
This is really, really cool. And then all of a sudden that became a major portion of
Were these
my time.
only gay friends, or were there non-gay friends?
It was everybody. So
Everybody.
yes,
So was a topic that would be interesting to not just the gay community.
correct.
Okay.
Actually, I find that 94% of my 94 to 95% of my readers aren't gay.
Really?
They're actually straight women.
Okay, and why would that be?
I think it's anytime somebody can peek back the curtain and look into someone else's life, especially in a situation like this where if they're questioning, there's more than 3 million men in America today that are secretly living double lifestyles. That means that they're married to a spouse, a female, and they're living a double life. And they're they don't know how to come out to their wife or tell their spouse that they're...
Well, how did you get this number, 3 million?
I started doing an immense amount of research, and I started finding support groups for wives that have gay husbands and so on and so forth. And
You actually have support groups like that out there?
Oh, yes.
Wow.
Oh, yes.
So that would tap into who would be interested in the
Yes.
story that you wrote. So you have a very interesting story how you got this book published. So you belong to CAPA, where
Yes.
you went to one of their meetings, Connecticut Authors and Publishers Association.
Yes.
And I'm also a member of CAPA, by the way.
Yes.
And you went to a thing called CAPA University.
Correct.
Where they have agents there. So tell us about what happened.
Yes. It was my first time ever going to Kappa University, and there was a couple dozen literary agents, and I was assigned a literary agent to show my query letter to. And a query letter is basically a one-page sell sheet that gives a beginning, a middle, and an end of your story, yourself, and your marketing plan. And it's basically your first impression. They say you have a half a second to make a first impression. So I was assigned a literary agent, and the agent that I had met with wasn't interested in the genre. However, there were several agents there that I started networking with that were interested. And they said, this is really a hot topic. This is very, up and coming. This is ahead of its time. And so an agent that Regina Brooks, who's the owner of Serendipity Literary Agency out of Brooklyn, New York, went home with my manuscript that day. And she called me and said, love to sign you.
How long did it take for her to call you?
I spoke to her the next day because she read the book. She read the manuscript on the train ride back to New York City.
So she called you the next day?
Yes.
Wow. Okay, that's how, when they want you, they get you.
Oh, yes.
You don't have to keep sending letters out. So after you became an author, so as I said, jumping ahead in time, you became the chairman of publicity
Yes.
to CAPA. How did the author, going from author, and yes, you've been on television shows, and your book did make it to Amazon.com bestseller list, how did you go from there to becoming chairman of publicity.
Yes. Well, from day one that I joined Kappa, they always saw my ability to market. Now, I never really saw myself as a marketer, if you may, but through the use of social media, blogging, networking, my book quickly climbed to the top of Amazon ranking as the number one in the genre.
So you were doing your own, when you were doing your own advertisement, or you had your own Facebook page, or what exactly? You had your own blog?
Actually,
Facebook. All the above.
Facebook didn't even exist in 2006 at that time. So it was through blogging. Yeah, the movie hadn't come out yet. So that's a good point. So it was more on blogging and basically posing questions to people on blogs and receiving feedback and answers. And then I was elevated to
an active topic of discussion.
Yes. And I was elevated to an authoritative figure within this genre, this subject. So I was the go-to person when you would Google infidelity or is my spouse secretly living a double lifestyle. My name would come up number one, and my blogs and so on and so forth.
And people were able to ask you questions directly, or they just read your blog?
Through my blogs, yes. They were able to post comments and questions.
Pretty cool.
Yes.
So you have gotten into the publicity part, and you also work with a company that deals with natural products and skincare, and also different type of food supplements. And how has that helped you to market? Have you learned from them? Marketing?
Oh, it's easy. I mean, they go hand in hand. I mean, I'm a global recruiter for a natural product line that is. We're on the cutting edge of doing DNA testing for skincare, nutraceuticals, and it's all I do is when you talk about a good book, for example, it's referral marketing. So if you like this book, you're going to tell 10 people. If you had a good movie, you're going to tell people that you enjoyed that movie. That's all referral marketing is.
Okay. So, Dennis, you have some pretty good advice and suggestions for people who want to market themselves or even be on a television show. So, and I was very intrigued by your suggestions, and you're going to share that with us. And let's see if we did that on the show. First of all.
Okay. Yes.
Okay, let's see. We'll do a checklist here. So,
authors need to basically focus on three main topics when interviewing with people like yourself. And the first topic is you need to create intrigue. So that would be, and you need to focus on that concept of intrigue 3 times. So the topic needs to be mentioned and the intrigue needs to be mentioned 3 times. The second is you need to show value, Jason. As an author, you would need to show the audience value for the purpose of your book. And the third is you would need to convey what's in it for me. What would I get out of reading this topic or this subject?
So answer that question. What do I get for, having you as a guest?
As a guest?
What's in it for me?
What's in it for you? Well, I hope
I'm going to get the rating.
I hope you're going to get good ratings. Yes, and the Emmy. And there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot of things that we could go with that.
Emmy. That's enough.
Yes.
It's okay.
Yes.
Now, how do people get in contact with you if they're interested in talking to you about reading your book or finding out where your blog is? Or
Well, I'm still available in Barnes & Noble, and you can order me on Amazon.
Do you do book signings?
Yes, I do.
Are you doing any for the season by any chance?
I am not at this time. I mean, the book did come out in 2006, so it had its run. But viewers can reach me on my email address. It's my first and last name @me.com. That's Dennis.
Read that out for us.
Dennis, Dennis, Schleicher, SCHLEICHER @me.com.
At me.com. Wow. I never heard that one.
That's an Apple ID. I converted to
Oh,
Apple, so
okay.
you know,
I never heard
didn't
that
mean
one.
to give Apple a plug, but
No, but I never heard that one. You know, it shows you I'm behind the times.
it's okay. I don't think that, Jason, because you're great at what you do with
Thank
teaching
you.
people about, you know, doing videos and making trailers and so on and
Thank
so
you.
forth.
So, okay, you said you're not going to be doing yourself any publicity or author signings for your book.
Correct.
Coming up this holiday season because it's already had
Yes.
that. But what are you doing anything for Kappa as? Well, can you tell us a little bit?
Yes.
If not for this season, but in general, what is your goal? How are you going to help Kappa out? Or what are you going to do with your abilities to help out as chairman of publicity? What's your plan?
My goal is actually to put the author first, and by doing this,
I like that. Put the
yes,
author. I like
put
that.
the author first. Is that, you know, Kappa is an amazing organization. It's this gem right in our backstate, and I've always been passionate about the business of helping others and helping others succeed. So there's many authors that I've worked with that I've created blogs, websites. I've helped them become successful in social networking and engaging their viewers on Facebook and so on and so forth. It's just something I
So you're
love doing.
Consultation for authors.
Correct. But as the chairman of PR, I would like to have, you know, broaden the distribution channel of the Connecticut Authors and Publishers Association, show readers and viewers that there is a place out there that you can receive help, support if you do want to become an author. Because I never saw myself as being an author, ever, until I fell into this situation.
And then you see the trials and tribulations of other authors, what they went through, and you
Yes.
see, well, you know, I can be an author too because it wasn't that easy for anybody. You know,
No, it's
everybody
not.
has to pay their dues, except for you. You got that agent the very next day, so you're an exception to the rule. But so, how does someone get in contact with Kappa?
It's www.Kappa.com.
Very good. I was
Thank
going
you.
to back you up in case you couldn't remember that one.
How could I forget that? It's my job.
www.aboutkappa.com.
Yes.
That's the way I would have said it. Well, anyways, Dennis, it was a pleasure having you.
Thank you, Jason.
On this show.
Thank
I'm
you.
really happy that you're the chairman of publicity.
It's an honor
for
being here.
Kappa.
So, thank you.